All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about the American 1100. We're not going to pick one. We are going to talk about making a cutaway. The cutaways I've seen online are ridiculously expensive. I mean, it's a mental amount of money you're paying. And personally, I just think it's like make one yourself and rather spend that kind of money on extra locks. Really, it's crazy. So I thought, well, um, first off, I've really been through quite a lot. The Abus 7240s, I love them a hell of a lot. Abus seems to be my favorite. Euro cylinders, you name it, don't have a problem with them. But when it comes to the American 1100, even the Lottos, I'm not having issues with them. I got to work for them, but I'm not having issues. When it comes to this 1100, it's well known as being an iconic lock, and a lot of guys struggle with it. Beginners like me, and it's uh, um, it's not an easy lock to master. And I'm told that once you've mastered it, great, you're going to be fine. And but until then, you're going to cry long tears, which yeah. And I mean, I've spoken to a lot of guys. Georgia Jim put in a lot of effort, made videos, jiggle tests, everything. It's a lot of guys, Welsh lock pickers, and I'm asking these guys all for advice. But what I'm actually not doing really is putting in the time because I've been collecting other locks and rather going with them. At the moment, I found the Abus 7240. It's a comfort lock for me. Um, and I've been putting this off and putting this off. So I have a really great supplier. They're based down in Durban, Saunderson Security, and the manager there, Richard, is just fantastic. Very helpful guy. So, I can buy the American locks. I can actually buy them and I can buy a separate core with a key. I can even give him a code on the key and ask him to cut accordingly. You can see that's quite easy. And they'll do that because they have a full workshop. They're probably selling about 10,000 of these a month to the mines. They're doing really well on them, so they have a lot of stock and they have their own workshop. They have their own pinning kits and everything. So what also happens is sometimes they have problems and they're trying to fix it or whatever. And when I'm ordering whatever it is I'm ordering from him, I ask him for a couple of American 1100s, the dead cores, and these are just basically cores that have come out of locks, and they try and knock it with a bum key, and if that doesn't work, they're not going to waste their time, and they chuck it in the recycle bin. So he just sends a handful of cores, which I can usually rake open. One I couldn't rake open. One I got open with the electric pick gun. The others I've raked. Strip them and use them for spares. So I do have a couple of spares, but lock bodies I've only got three. And what I've done is just call them according to difficulty. So that's not too difficult, and that's a green. So it's sort of running towards LPU belt. So I'm not really. This is the blue, and then of course the purple. The purple's another story here. Um, just so I can pull a lock out of the box. You can see the box there full of locks, and it takes my kit and everything. So that's one of these are my more the locks I prefer. I mean, I've got another box full of locks. Excuse my coughing. Obviously, we've got a lot of lock pickers, a lot of locks, and you end up spending more money on locks than you do on kits. And so, yeah, what I've done is ask a lot of guys for advice. How do you pick it? How do you pick it? And everyone's got a different, some guys heavier tension, some guys feather light tension, some guys are saying pick one pin, 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 pin. Other guys are progressive pin from the front, progressive pin from the back. Other guys are like fluctuating to air. None of them are wrong, none of them are right. You really have to work out your own way. They can only give you advice. And so now, look, let's be honest, the cutaway lock does give different feedback, but I don't understand the whole serrated pin and key pins thing. I haven't quite worked it out. I haven't quite got the feel of it. So I thought this morning what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cutaway. I was chatting to Blake. He made a cutaway of the Abus 7240 and sent videos with a hacksaw cutting and that. And I thought, shit, man, I don't even have a hacksaw. I'm a handyman. I don't have a hacksaw. I use grinders. So yeah, anyway, what am I going to do? So we have to make this with minimal gear because there's no point in buying very fancy, expensive gear and, milling machine and everything. You don't need it. You can make your own one, hopefully successfully. Now, this is the first video I've done where I have absolutely no idea of what the outcome is going to be, right? So this core that's in here right now was one of the cores that was sent to me by Richard just this week with an order of Squires, the Squire SA40s, which I've repinned for gate locks. And this is actually a 6-pinner, and it's a 6-pin core, 6-pin. They're all 6-pin cores, but it's got 6 pins in and a 6-pin key. And what happened was that the guy in the workshop made the core and the key and cut the key, but put the wrong code on it. So just in case you didn't know, that is 000 989. Not a good example. Let's look at this. That is 22165. So what that basically means is that is starting from the first pin, 22165. That's the length of the key pin. Obviously, I bought a couple of key pins and some spares from him, and so I do have, in here, some key pins, mark them all to size, some serrated spool pins and circlips, and a couple of extra cores, right? So obviously a pull box is the best way to organize them and the cheapest. They do cheap. So because he put the wrong code on here, it ended up in the waste bin. Whole thing, call the whole lot, and that one, surprisingly enough, arrived in the packages of locks free of charge. And I thought, great, a 6-pinner with some quite extreme bitting, and I thought that's really, really great. I'll pop that in the purple. So what I've been doing with this one is progressively pinning from the front to the back, which I started with last night, and I got up to pin 4. Then this morning I put in pin 5, and we're moving up to 6. So far with 4 pins, I've got it open. I'm sort of starting to get the feel of it, but still, I thought a cutaway will do the job. So right onto it. So what did I this morning? The first thing I did, because I like to spray a bit of Q20 spray oil. It's a penetrating oil into the locks. Works well on the Abus. It doesn't work on the Americans. I think I don't know, because everyone's saying, well, you hear this click, you hear that click. I'm hearing no clicks. But my locks are drenched in oil, so perhaps that. So I stripped everything, cleaned everything in acetone, dried everything, put them all back together, all the key pins, springs, everything, cores, cleaned the whole lot, and thought, okay, let's start again, except for this core, because that one I didn't oil at all. For me personally, I found that the multi-pick rounded hook in 0.4 millimeters, this isn't the 0.4, the deep hook, medium hook, gets in quite nicely from the top. Sometimes I use the Reaper 5, and then the 50th, the 1.3 mil multi-pick that's what works for me, right? So on to making the actual cutaway. So what I did was I took an extra core and gutted it, cleaned it, obviously. Those put aside. We're going to need the purple. Now we're going to do this with very, very minimal tools. Don't try cut it with a core in, because you're just going to make a mess. So what I did was, first of all, you've got to realize you've got to sit, think, and decide. Now, which way do I pick? Do I pick up or down? Because obviously when you want the cutaway, I like to do things handheld, because in a vise I found it tricky. I also pick down, and I just can't pick up. I just can't. So I'm going to be holding it like this, and so just to prevent any, and then I'm going to start picking down, prevent any mishaps, because you probably don't have access to a lot of cores, and you don't want to make a mess of it. So that's how I'm going to be picking. So obviously, when you look at your core, it sits in there like that. This is the side I need to cut away. If you are picking up, and that's how you're doing it, maybe you've got an ergo turner, maybe you're doing this, well, then your barbel is going to be up, and you have to cut away on that side. But for me, I'm picking it that way. So this is what I do. Now, I've already done this, so we're not going to take the whole video. Um, I'm just going to roughly mark it with a pen from here, the center down, all the way down, keeping that even about there. And I marked um, each one like that. And then I got the Dremel. Now, if you do lock sport, get a Dremel, get a battery Dremel, and get the A220 because the Dremel light doesn't quite have the power. Got a speed click because I'm lazy. I'm not going to use a hacksaw. Pop that in, and I cut out the grooves on the cylinder. As you can see there, this one went a bit far, but there is still a bit of gap in the bottom. That one also went a bit far, but that's all right. It's not the end of the world. And I cut that out and then just took a little sander or a little grinding stone by hand, just, gave it a bit of a cleaning all the burrs off. And all you really need is a drill bit and a safety pin or a needle or something. The drill bit, what I do is I, by hand, put it in there and turn it anti-clockwise so it doesn't snag on anything, get the burr to bend out. And I just clean up each one so it's nice and clean. There's no burrs, and that's all good. Then I test by sliding the core in, and is the core going to go in nice and clean? And is it going to rotate cleanly? Yes, it is. Great. Next step, all you need for this is your fancy drill bit and get it in there. Now, when you're cutting this, just a word of advice. This is very soft. It's very mild steel. Don't don't put it in your vise like that. Put it in your vise like that, and then cut each groove out. Slowly, take your time with either a hacksaw or your Dremel cutting wheel. This thin cutting wheel is actually quite. It's slimmer than the holes, than the key pins, so nothing's going to pop out the front. They're very cool, and that just comes out, and you change it like that. That's how it comes apart. So you can buy those for cheap. And literally, I cut that out. Then I take the core and I pop the core in like that. And okay, this core doesn't quite fit in here. That's fine. And then I take a drill bit, and that must go at the top. No, I lie. I lie like a cheap Korean watch. What I did on just one of the pins was I put a whole pin stack in, reassembled it so it stays in position, and then I just marked, with a Dremel, marked or cut little grooves as to where these, let's get into focus, where these must go. Now, I have not assembled this. I don't even know if it's going to work fine. And that will give you the marks. Then take it out. I then pop it in the vise. Because it has a tendency to turn, because the vise is only gripping on there, I just took the same drill bit and held it in there whilst cutting down. So there is our end product. Now you only really need to see where you need to see the shear line. That's really where you need to see. If you're worried about what pick you're using before you do anything, hold your lock upside down and see that you can clearly move through the warding and lift all the pins all the way up. If you can do that, then you've got the right pick. And that has left us with the core. And everything's been cleaned up, and that's it. That's what you can see there. I'm quite happy with that so far. I can see that. That's going to work. So I've cleaned all the burrs off and everything. A little wire brush. You don't want to actually open that too much more. And then what I did, instead of taking an expensive lock body, because I'm paying about 550, divided by 25 for pounds or dollars, roughly that. I'm paying 550 Rand per American lock complete like that. I'm paying 300 Rand for 4 of the Squire SAL 40s. So they're less than 100 Rand each. I can buy 5 or 6 or, yeah, about 6 of these for the same price as one of those. So if I make a mistake, I'm going to make the mistake on a cheap lock body. They do take interchangeable. Cores are interchangeable. They don't have the same keyway, but the cores are interchangeable with the American 1105. So that's quite handy. And then I just made a little window. The way I did this was I slid it in, and then I just sort of had a look how deep it is, where does it start, marked it off roughly with a pencil, and then again with your Dremel, you get it. I drilled a few holes, then you get this sort of sideways cutting route a bit. And I routed that off, cleaned everything up, gave it a good clean, little bit of oil in there, not too much that it doesn't get in the lock body. And there we have our window. So the whole thing kind of goes together, not a little bit like that. It goes together exactly like that. Pops in, and it's the wrong way around. So it doesn't go exactly like that, because then it's not going to work, is it? Goes in like that, and you have a view of what's going on. So it's sometimes nice, especially with the dead cores, Well, you can't put a dead core in here because you need to strip it first. So, yeah, that's not going to work. Now, because this purple lock, you must excuse my coughing. There's a bit of a flu or something, or just too much smoking, or both. I don't know. I know it's extreme bitting. I know that's not right. So what I did was I just took this, put it in the core, and one by one drop key pins in until I got them flush, and it left me with a code which reads 862363, and engraved that in there. So if I ever need to repin another core or something, according to that, because it's really nice. It's good challenging bitting, and it's a 6-pinner. So you can do 5 pins, which is also still challenging, or you can do 6 pins. It's really great, and I'm actually got to phone Richard because I only saw it on Friday. Tell him no thanks for that. You did me a solid there. So I've got the whole thing set up, and I'm actually going to try and repin it on camera. Now, this is why I say it's a first. This is the first time I'm making a video. So when you look at the tools, it's like a drill bit, and a Dremel, which you should have anyway if you do lock sport, and it's got 101 other uses. And you spend more on locks than you do on an entire Dremel. And the dog is barking at someone. Who knows? It barks at everyone until you walk in. Then it's meek like a lamb. Cutting the speed click. It's called the speed click, the fitting, and a pin or something in a wire brush. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. You don't actually need to get super fancy at all with this. You can do milling and everything, but remember, you're not going to get exactly the same feedback as with a cutaway as you are with a normal one. But what I'm after here is just really, really understanding. I want to understand how these things work, and once I'm done with it, I will probably never use it again, and I'll put it on the shelf with the other stuff, and it will become a display. And I've no doubt that at one point in time I'll get quite good with these. I don't know about that spring, why it's there. But that day is not today, so I'm going to use a cutaway just to get a feel for it. So what I'm going to do now, and I like to do this, I mean, you guys get the video, you get the idea, right? But I'm going to do this on video. I tried pinning up the Abus 7240 on video. Oh man, what a nightmare, huh? Because it's so finicky and small inside, and this is a little bit bigger. And I'm going to pin it up according to that 6-pin. So I have a key for it, and I mean, if you're gonna make it a cutaway, make a six spinner. Go on, go all the way. Um, the dog is still barking. I don't know if you can hear it. That's why we've got another spring there, because it's six pins. It's not five. I made the same with the Abus. I'm like, could have sworn there's like seven pins in it. Oh, you know what? I'm trying to look in there. I'm still trying to look in there to see. I mean, it's a cutaway. You know, you can see that the springs are in there. But anyway, we don't always have brightest moments in around. I haven't managed to figure out what if there is even an order. I do notice that at the end here, and this isn't there, you can see there's a slightly bigger gap there than there is on the top. And I'm assuming that bit goes in the Bible. I'm assuming it. I may be wrong, but who knows? There also seems to be a very, very random um, way of how they determine which is a. Maybe it's because I'm getting custom made locks. Who knows? But there seems to be a very random manner in which they the spool pins and serrated pins are going. I don't know. I do know on your Avis 6240, I do know that pin 1 is always a standard driver, and pins 4 to 5 are spools. That I know. But these, I don't know. I think they just kind of do it in a very random fashion. And if I can just get this lock started, I'll be happy. Um, so to me, I need to shed some light on the situation. To me, yeah, it just seems that. So what I'm doing is okay. That's the end one. I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3 serrated. This is from the back, obviously, because that's the order you are putting it in. Two spools, and then the last one a serrated again. So I don't think that is the actual order in which they go, because I don't think they actually have an order in which they go. So I mean, you guys are probably tuned out by now, which is cool. But if you do, please like and subscribe. But if you want to hang about, because like I say, I've never assembled this. I don't know if it's going to work or if it's not going to work. Who knows? What I do know is that if it doesn't work, it's going to go on the shelf, and I'm still not spending the same amount as a decent. I mean, like, 80, $90 for a cutaway. That isn't going to give you a feedback on as much as a real thing. Um, I think the Sandman Advanced set from Multipick is $90. So $10 extra, you get a full set of picks. For a cutaway lock, which isn't really going to give you 100% a real world simulation. Almost said stimulation there, but that's not the thing. So I'm going to take the same key. Let's whack it in the plug with the grooves, because that's the whole point. Let's find the plug with the grooves. So I can't bring myself to spend that kind of money on a cutaway lock, on learning. I just can't. For some reason. That one is giving me a headache. Something is not right there. But it's fine, it will loosen up. Let's see if it drops in successfully. May well be something jammed in there. Who knows? But we'll find out. The key will work. Bear in mind, I also haven't pinned this lock up. So I do think maybe a bit more cleaning. Just those two, hey? The rest are all pretty clear. See, they're going in nicely. So I think for the purposes of this video, we're gonna just give them a shove. Because it's obviously something jamming them up. Now let's see if the key will go in. And if the key will come out. And I think you just got to do that a few times to get them clear of debris and stuff that is collecting. You see, I've got to cut those lines a little bit further because they seem to be catching on the lip there. But it's fine. The keys are going in and the keys coming out. So it's not going to get jammed. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to reassemble it and I'm going to assemble the entire lock. And then we will see if it, have I buggered this up? I have. Oh, crikey, we've lost the pin. We've lost that one. All is not lost. Let's get a pick. Don't know about you guys, but I really can't stand assembling locks on video. And we will lock it. And there you have it. I don't know if you can see too well. I'm going to machine those back a little bit. I don't want to cut all the way through. It might weaken the core and the heat will move it around. The key does work and therefore the lock works. So I'm just going to pop on this little circlip or that one, whichever I can pick up. And there you have it, an 1105 core. It's a little bit sticky. It will obviously loosen itself up. There you can see. Now you can also see the shear line. You can see, oh, all I'm seeing is bloody serrations. I mean, really, you know, yokes need to be easy on the serrations there. Those are the bits that get me, you know. And this core pops straight into there. So if you make a mess of it, it's not the end of the world. And here I have its locking mechanism. Don't know why that didn't come out earlier. But yeah, I think lesson learned. We've got to cut that plug a bit further up, so the key pins can move freely up and down in there, because that's where they're getting themselves a bit of a jam. No biggie. Like I say, I have not put this together, and I haven't even pinned it up. I just put one pin in to be able to mark the grooves. So we're going to see if it works. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But so far, I always like to test it. And there you have it. So in my books, that is a win. And there you have it, your DIY American 1105 cutaway, done on a budget. And, you know, for the amount of money you pay for those, I can buy a hell of a lot of Dremels. And I had a lot of these sets of, I don't know if milling it or anything is really worth the time and the money and the whole lot. Just do it yourself, if you don't have a Dremel, cut it with an hacksaw and get it done. So I'm going to clean that up, and then I'm going to have a couple of whacks at it, a bit of a go at picking and see how it feels. And then continue with my progressive pinning on this. These now have the same, they take the same key, and so I've got a practice and then a closed lock to refer to. And I mean, you can pin this front to back, back to front, however you want. It's up to you. So guys, I hope this helps you. If it does, just let us know. I, in the same breath, hope it helps me, because I've been procrastinating when it comes to this. Is always a bit of a bind sometimes. So I find that just the back of the pinning tweezers, and give it a jam and it'll come out, because that retaining thread there gets stuck. So yeah, if this works for you guys, let us know. Leave a comment. If it doesn't work for you, if you find it's different, like also the same, let us know. And thanks a lot for watching.